What's up, everybody? Well, the green grass is showing and growing. Can you believe that? I've had a time-lapse camera out here for the last couple of days. Check this out. It's pretty cool. Amazing that it can move that quickly. Now, my friends, the elk and I were talking about something vitally important about getting started for the 2024 season. As it is March and today is the first day of spring, we have some fun stuff to talk about. So of course right now, the big conversation is pre-emergent. If there's one thing that should be on everybody's mind right now, it's weed prevention. Not fertilizer, not mowing, not cleanup, not any of that other stuff. It's pre-emergent time, and that is vitally important. Now, I'm not gonna go sit here and rehash this. If you guys wanna check out what I did on pre-emergence and running through all of these different options, it's right here. It's also linked down below. As you look down there, you could go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you haven't done that already. And then also it'll be at the end of the video, so you'll have 3 options to go check that out once we get through this. Now around here, I have a little bit of a different problem. I don't put any pre-emergent out on the lawn because the lawn is thick and healthy, so that's what I want to talk about today. So let's say you got to the end of last year and your lawn didn't look stellar. It was thin, it was patchy. I'm going to advise you to not put any pre-emergent down this year. You should wait, you should do a spring seeding, you should get that up, you should fertilize, you should have the grass growing and thick, and skip it for this year and focus on your post-emergent game. That typically is going to be the best option inside of a scenario of a thin and patchy lawn. Do a spring seeding. While people say it is risky, sort of. It's easier to do in the fall because temperatures are a little more predictable. And in the springtime, hell, it's 55 degrees here in the mountains today. It's going to be below freezing again on the weekend as a high. So it's a crapshoot. And while I know everybody right now is excited to get out there and fire up the mower and get out there on the grass, we really should redirect this conversation from all of these other exciting things you could be doing to just this weed prevention conversation and really establishing a baseline for what your lawn looked like at the end of last year. I think that's the more overlooked piece. We come into a new year like everything is exciting and different, but the reality is you got to judge what happened at the end of last season to know what you're going to do this year. So I would like to put in place the slowdown technique, the weed prevention technique, and then also, again, if you need to fill in your lawn, start thinking about seeding. Now, I did a video right here also about spring seeding, really not a big deal. Last year I had to completely reseed my green to get it back into shape. This year things are looking a little bit better. But let me show you where I struggle the most with weeds and where I'll be applying pre-emergent and probably a lot of post-emergent this year as well. Check that out. Already happening. Growing just fine, super healthy, like it would be summertime around here. Weeds and grasses are all popping up all over the place in here. I'm always shocked at how much garbage shows up after the snow melts. It's wild. Thistle is already coming around and it is early. So last year at this time, we still had about this much snow here. And this is growing again like it's already late spring because of where this sits. South facing, out in the sun, soil temps are really warm. This whole area needs to get a pre-emergent application like pronto. Dog, you're really making a lot of noise. It's kind of hard to do this. It's hard to do this. Oh yeah, you're so scary. I want you to just take a look at that right there. This grass is coming out in really good shape by comparison to years prior. We didn't get the snowfall at this elevation, about 7,000 feet, that we did the year before. Last year was a record. This year was actually high as well, but not anywhere near it. And now that we've got these warm temperatures, I'm actually going to be working on my lawn more than a month ahead, which I can't even tell you how excited I am about that. So to close this out, there's really only one final question I think that's on everybody's mind is really when should you fertilize your lawn? You know, that really is going to depend on you. Now, there's plenty of advice in a number of different ways on how this goes. Put a little bit of water-soluble fertilizer out early, not a lot. You don't want to do these big heavy doses. that's just fine. That's just going to help maybe green stuff up, give a little bit more energy. There's the next practice that says wait a little while, get into maybe late April, May, sort of in that time, and then you go ahead and do a larger dose of nitrogen at that time. Honestly, the downside of feeding early is you're going to push even more growth than would naturally happen and potentially stunt some root growth. That's the downside. That could lead to issues later in the summer as far as heat tolerance and things like that. It just sort of depends on who you are with your program. If you're going to try to push and stress your grass out a little bit later in the spring to try to drive roots down, you can do that. The big benefit to waiting is that you're going to likely limit the amount of nitrogen that's going to go out, especially on a cool season lawn. Wait a little bit longer, you put it out later. You're not really going to feed much in the summertime, and then you're going to go heavy again in the fall. So it's sort of up to you. Now, professionally, in the world of lawn care and pro lawn care, it's not uncommon for these huge doses of fertilizer, nitrogen fertilizer, to go out early in the season, ahead of when typically you would have advice about doing this. And a lot of that is purely aesthetic. In the pro lawn side, it's about getting the greenest lawn, the fastest, the earliest, and it boosts the sales for any company that's out there. It's actually a pretty normal thing. Does that hurt the lawn later on? Jury's out. There are ways that you can create problems for profit, and there are ways that you can just have beautiful lawn starting out early, and it's just fine for the rest of the year. But in my case this year, I think I am going to do it a little different. Last year I waited a long time. I don't think I fertilized the first time until like either the end of May. I don't really remember. It's been a while. But part of that was snow and whatever. But this year I'm going to hit it a little bit earlier. Not now, but I actually think that we're not going to be too far off. Sometime in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to say somewhere around April 1st. That's my prediction. Maybe a little bit after that, I think I'm actually going to be out here doing some cleanup on the lawn and starting my program. And obviously I won't be turning on my irrigation yet. We're going to wait as long as possible on that. I'll go ahead and get my new irrigation in. Stay tuned for that. And, we're going to get this thing off to the races. So maybe it's a year to just ditch commonality, stop being just adequate, and go for something epic. Who knows? Hey, check out these 2 videos right here if you want to hear more about this kind of stuff and go into a little bit more in depth about your pre-emergent or about even seeding in the spring. I'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.